Hi guys, how's it going? This video is about using imperative command in Kubernetes. Imperative command are the command that you can use to create different Kubernetes resources like creating a pod, a service, a deployment, stateful set, and so on. I've got 70 questions here that I need to use imperative command to complete. The first question is to deploy a pod named nginx pod using the nginx open image. What I need to do is run kube control run nginx pod. Before I run that command, I need to create areas for kube control. Now I can run nginx pod. The image is nginx open. I can check using kube control X pod. The pod is created in one. Next task is to deploy a Redis pod using Redis open image with the labels tier equal to DB. So I can use imperative command to create this pod by running run Redis image equal to Redis. And the label is tier equal to DB. So I can check for again. It's currently creating. Let me check again. So it's running. The next task is to create a service named Redis service to expose the existing Redis pod within the cluster with port 6379. So to create a service tied to a pod, you can use the expose command. So you run kube control expose pod. The pod name is Redis. This ties the pod we created earlier. And the name we want to give to the service is Redis service. And the port is going to be 637. So if I run kget service, I can see the Redis service has been created tied to port 6379. Now let me see if it's created for that or exposed on that port. So I will say 0 wide, which is the wide character, to get more information about the service. You can see the selector is TLDB, which is what we specify here in creating the Redis port. So the next task is to create a deployment named web app using the image with 3 replicas. So to do that, you have kube control create deploy. The name of the deployment is web app. The image copy, copy, paste. And the replicas equal to 3. They get deployed. So the deployment is not ready yet. It's currently ready. So that is done. The next task is to create a new pod called custom engines using the engines image and run it on container port 8080 So to do this, we run group control, run custom endpoints, image with also endpoints, and this should be run on ports 8080, container port 8080. Now to check if this has been created, the group control gets to get the port. So custom engines is running. Let's see what container port is running on. We can use group control get field and say the output is the output and pipe the output and grab container ports and say we want two more lines above the container ports and two more lines below the container port. So you get this. So container port is 8080, that is correct. So you can move on. Oh, there's issue. So custom engines. Oh, the name is wrong. So what I can do is I will delete it. I'll say group control delete uh, port, and the name of the port is custom engines instead of engines. Now I will recreate the port after it's been deleted. So the name should be engines. So let's check again. So engines, that's the name. So page, let's move on. Create a new namespace called def ns. So to create a new namespace, you say who control creates ns def -ns. That's created. That's it. Who control gets namespace. And you see def ns is there. So let's move on. Next question is to create a deployment called Redis deploy in the dev ns namespace with Redis image. It should have two replicas. So to do this, you can just create control create deploy, and the name is Redis deploy, and the namespace is dev ns, and the image is going to be Redis, and it should have two replicas. So they get deployed in the dev namespace. So it's been created, so we can move on. The next question is to create the next task is to create a port named HTTPD using the image HTTPD offline in the default namespace. So let's do that first. If you need to create a port, you can use K1 to create. HTTPD is the name. The image is HTTPD. So that's been created. Then create a service of type cluster IP with the same name HTTPD that exposes the port on port 80. So to create a service that exposes a port on port 80, you can use kube control expose command. And by default, the type of service that is created by kube control expose command is the cluster IP service. That's the default service. So you can use kube control expose port, and the name of the port we want to expose is HTTP, and the name of the service we want to create is also HTTPD, and the port we want to expose it on is 80. What else? Under it. So now it can say kube control gets SVC and use um, wide character to see the full contents. So you can see this HTTPD is tied to the HTTPD port. So that's been created. Let's try to move on. The next task or question is which command will you use to display a list of all available API resources in your cluster? To check the list of available API resources in your cluster, use kube control API resources. This will give you the list of all Kubernetes API resources in the cluster. So the answer is kube control API resources. The next question is what's the short name for horizontal pod autoscaler? So to actually get the short name for this, you can, instead of looking through all the API resources one by one, you can just use same command. And what you need to do there is therefore the name of that resources there. So if you grab for that name, you can see the resource name and the short name of that resource is HPA. So you can see here. So type the answer is HPA. The next question is which of the following resources is not namespace? So basically, all of these are API resources. You can actually use a similar command by running API resources, kube control API resources, and grep all of these resources one by one. And say, for example, deployment, and you can see is in namespace. True, it is namespace. The next question is the next option is node. It's node namespace. Node. It's not namespace, so it's false, as you can see there. And there. So node is false. And you can go for other one as well, but they've asked for just one. So pod is namespace. So node is not namespace. You can say answer is node. Which command will you use to get a description and details of the pod resources? So if you want to get a description of the pod resources, you can say kube control explain pod. So that will give the explanation of that pod. So the answer is kube control explain pod. The next question is when writing a YAML manifest for a pod, we want to understand what fields are available under containers. So basically, if you're writing a YAML manifest for a pod, right, and you want to see what are the properties that are available under containers, you can use the same command or extend it. You can say kube control explain pod.spec, since you know that spec containers is under spec. Let's say those containers. And this will give you explanation on the properties under the containers or the fluid. So the answer will be kube control explain pod.spec.containers. The next question is you can drill down into nested feeds using documentation. That is true. Use kube control explain to explore the spec feed of a pod. What's the type of the containers feed? So I think that's what we've done earlier. We've done kube control explain pod.spec.containers. Now, if we want to know the type of containers feed, can see this is the type it's like lists. So for container, the, the type of the feed is list or like this type. So let's explore the deployment resources. What is the type of the replicas feed? So now, if you want to do deployments, so you can say kubernetes then deploy dot spec replicas is under spec, right? So replicas. So now the type of replicas feed is integer, as you can see there. So answer is integer. Now the next question is, what does recursive flag do when you use it with kube control explain? So say for example, what we did earlier is basically get the information about the replicas. But what if we do recursive instead, right? So recursive, it doesn't give us like better information on what it does on deployment replicas. Let's go for example, metadata. So let's say deploy dots metadata, right? Because deployment has metadata. Every resource has metadata. You can see it basically recursively gives us the information on the um, uh, properties of feed. What we did here, like earlier, replicas, it doesn't have further properties. It can just specify a particular integer, whether one or two replicas or three. But for metadata, it gives you more properties that are within metadata. For example, namespace, labels, name, annotation, and so on. So it recursively gives does it for nested properties. So the answer will be shows all nested feeds recursively in a single output. The next question is use quick control explain with recursive flag to explore this service spec ports. So if I do this, and just see, so if I do that, and so I get this. Now looking at the recursive output, which of these feed is not available on that service.spec ports? Node port is there, right? This is it. Host network is not there. Target port is there. Output protocol is there. So the answer is host network. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, and leave a comment. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.